This episode of Your Morning Drive is brought to you by Fireworks Co-working. They are a creative co-working space located in Marietta, Georgia, focused on supporting the local community and uplifting creative entrepreneurs. If you want to try out this beautiful space, this podcast room is just one of the many available rooms and spaces available for you and your company to work at. If you want to try them, you can. Use code DRIVE at checkout and you'll get a free day pass. So, if you're working from home, if you're working at an office that you don't have to go to, if you're tired of working at your kitchen table where you have to listen to your kids or your spouse or the lawn people in the outside cutting the grass and it's too loud for your Zoom meetings. Well, you don't have to worry about that. You can try out Fireworks Co-working in Marietta, Georgia. It's right down the street from Kennestone Hospital. They are the presenting sponsor of Your Morning Drive. They offer me a beautiful space for me to be able to record my podcast with all of the creators, business owners, and other individuals that I get the pleasure of interviewing, and they can be your home too. So either go to the space, tour the place with the staff, tell them Logan Lewis from Your Morning Drive sent you, or if you're booking online, again, use code DRIVE, DRIVE, for a free day pass to try the space. Your Morning Drive is also present to us by Good Days Canned Cocktails. Good Days are a classic cocktail brand created in a convenient, ready-to-drink canned format for any occasion, whether it's a pool day, a boat day, a beach day, a graduation, a wedding, a bar mitzvah, anything in between. Good Days are there for you. Good Days are ahead when they are in your cooler, your fridge, your anything in between. Good Days has your back. If you want to be one of the first to try their drink, you can do so by visiting drinkgooddays.com/pages/find-us to find a store near you selling their drink. Of course, you must be 21 years of age to consume and purchase. Guys, I want to tell you about another friend of my show, Your Light Marketing. If you're a small business owner or an entrepreneur trying to figure out how to stand out in a crowded market, I want to tell you about Your Light Marketing. These guys are all about helping you create a marketing strategy that's true to who you are without pushing you to follow trends or gimmicks that just don't feel right to you. They specialize in helping people build custom growth plans around their unique story and mission. So if you're tired of trying to be like everybody else and you want to attract the right customers, aka people who really resonate with what you're all about, then this is the team to talk to. Go to www.yourlightmarketing.com to book a free strategy session with them. Trust me, they will help you build a plan that feels authentic to you and gets results. Again, that's yourlightmarketing.com to book that free strategy session call with them. Your Light Marketing. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Your Morning Drive. I am Logan, your host for today, broadcasting live from Fireworks Studio in Marietta, Georgia. We are thrilled to have you with us today. If you enjoy what we're doing here, do me a favor and share it with just one friend who might need a little boost to start their day. You can listen on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and if you prefer to watch, it's on YouTube as well. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite platform and leave a 5-star review. It really helps us grow and reach more people. For even more ways to stay connected, go ahead and give us a follow on the socials, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and TikTok. There you'll find show updates, episode announcements, and fun clips to keep you entertained. Thank you for joining us again today. I certainly appreciate it. My guest today was born and raised in Kennesaw, Georgia. She has 3 kids and was a stay-at-home mom until life took a different turn. She dove into the hospitality industry where she felt right at home With 3 kids, she became good at throwing parties and eventually worked as an event lead with a large catering company. She later met a corporate event planner who introduced her to her current role, or to her role, and she worked with her until moving to a larger company in Atlanta where she learned the full business side of event planning. Then COVID shut down her industry, and while working 2 in the meantime jobs, she started Honeybee Events as a side hustle. Please welcome my new friend, Holly Johnson. Hello.
Hi. Hello.
How
Thank
are
you for
you?
having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming and doing this with me.
Absolutely.
I
I'm happy to
appreciate
do
it. Absolutely. You were one of the first that expressed interest when I made my post on that Facebook group.
Oh, good.
And it's just been I've just been so backed up. It's
that's
like
a good
crazy.
thing.
Yeah, definitely no complaints here. But I mean, God, there's been so many people that I'm like, which one were you again? But I've always had your business name, the Honeybee Events. It's stuck in my head literally.
Oh, good.
And
It's memorable.
very memorable. I don't just say that to everybody either. Like I've had your name in Honeybee in the back of my mind ever since that day. And I was like, we're going to do Honeybee. We're going to do Honeybee. We're going to do Honeybee.
Good.
Yeah.
So it's stuck like honey.
Hey, look at that. So obviously I read off kind of your summarized, shortened, condensed story, but I mean, who are you? Who is Holly?
That's a loaded question.
Right.
Well, as far as like who I see myself as, the first thing that I always see myself as is a mother. That was my first real role as an adult, and it's where I wanted to be. I felt like it's where I thrived. My grown kids might have a different take on that, but it's where my heart was, and it's what I found the most joy in. So first I'm a mother, and then I'm a sister, and a very loyal sister. I have 2 older sisters, and how we grew up was just conducive to us being survivalist, I think, and loyal, really protective over our mother. So who I am as a person, I think, comes from that also. I'm very loyal. If I say that you're my friend, or if I say that I'm going to do something, then more times than not, that's what I'll die trying to do. And not perfect in that, but I think that's the core of who I am. And even when nobody's looking, I try to do the right thing because I'd want that for me.
Sure. It's the classic overused, but I mean, maybe underused, honestly, at least in today's time, of treat those how you want to be treated.
Correct.
I mean, it's just how I was raised as well. I mean, give people the same respect that you would want to be given. I feel like it's a very trivial thing, but it doesn't really get tossed around much anymore.
Right. I think it's really fundamental. And it's a fundamental that, like you say, it sounds cliche, but I think a lot of times even now it's underrated. I think people get away with a lot because of, honestly, like divorces. They've got 2 different houses that they have to answer to. One parent wants to be the friend. One's still going to be the disciplinarian. They've got different roles that they play at school. They've got social media. They can be one person online and another one in private. I think there's a lot of things that lead to that. And then when there's not really, I don't feel like a lot of accountability, then no one's there to say, hey, you're out of line, or this doesn't look good for your character, or, just remind them of how to treat people, like you said, in order to receive the same kind of treatment.
I feel like that's a problem with today, and the reason that, like you said, people can be one way online or over the phone, but then a different way in person. There's just not a lot of accountability.
Yes.
I mean, I grew up being held accountable. I mean, when social media first kind of dropped, I was a young teenager, and I really wanted to get accounts and be on the internet. And my dad and mom were always just like, everything you put on the internet, it's there forever. So, I mean, someone's going to hold you accountable someday.
Right.
And every once in a while, when I was a teenager, I would put out something on Twitter or on Facebook. Maybe I was going through a breakup, or obsessing over a girl, or upset about something. And I would put some dumb shit on the internet.
Right.
And my parents were like, if you're going to have social media, I'm going to follow you. Right. I'm going to be your friend. I'm going to see everything you do. And anytime I did something stupid, my dad would text me and be like, you can't post shit like this.
Yeah.
No one's going to like you.
Right.
And that was me being held accountable.
Yeah.
And so eventually I stopped doing that because I just learned that no one wants to see people bellyache on the internet.
Correct.
Which I feel like we see a lot of nowadays. And I think I've seen a lot of over the past week or so, a lot of belly aching on the the internet.
Yeah, for
Fun
sure.
election times.
Election year, are you kidding me? You're always going to see that. But yeah, that's how I was raised, and I was raised without the internet.
Mm-hmm.
So I had basically a single mom and trying to do the roles, obviously, of a mother and an absentee father. So accountability was real, and it was a completely different thing then, because either you got on restriction or you got a spanking, which is non-existent today, or you got your keys taken away, like you weren't allowed to drive, and there weren't any cell phones. So like the accountability was real. And I knew my mom meant it. Like if she got a hold of you, you're like, oh, okay, well, that's not fun. No. Yeah. There were plenty of times, even if she thought I was wrong more than I was, she would literally drag me back to the school, the place, my friend, my grandparents, whoever it was that she thought that I wronged, and I would have to apologize to their face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's gangster shit. I mean, and that just doesn't happen anymore.
No.
Not as much as it should. I mean, years ago, something that sticks out to me is I worked at a restaurant when I was in college, and a group of teenagers came in with their friends, and they ate at a table. It was at Chili's. They ate, they left. And the server comes up to me because I was just a host.
Yeah.
And someone came up to me and they go, man, that kid tipped me nothing. They didn't tip me nothing.
That's awesome.
3 hours later, that same kid comes in by themselves with a $5 bill. And they said, my mom's in the car. Is that server still here? Did they leave for the day? I said, oh, no, she's still here. And he said, my mom's making me bring this $5 back to tip
awesome.
them.
Good for
and
her.
I was like, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, I mean, I don't think people are taught, or at least kids, I don't think tipping is something that they teach. You just kind of learn that from your parents when you go out to eat as a kid.
Right. And again, that role model that's there, it's either absentee or you've got somebody that's trying to make up for two parents.
Yeah.
And then you don't have a lot of leeway. And kind of leading into the whole hospitality industry is, I've always said, I think that people graduating high school, it should be mandatory that either you serve 2 years military and 2 years in hospitality. Because if you want to learn how to treat somebody, work in hospitality. Yeah.
I feel like I kind of relating to some of the discussions we had before we hit record.
Yeah.
When I was a younger man, I was a little full of myself, a little into myself too much. But then I got a job as a teenager. And my parents' rule was, if you're not an athlete in school, you're going to have a job.
Correct.
So I was never athletic. Sports just weren't my thing. So from the age of 15, had a job, and I've always had a job of some kind. And I've worked at grocery stores and movie theaters and golf courses. And I mean, all those little things, you pick up something in each little spot that teaches you how to talk to people, how to treat people, how to interact with people. And then finally, my final job in that kind of like part-time era of my life was working at a restaurant. And I learned so much at working at a restaurant.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, how to treat people, how to talk to people. I mean,
patience,
which I still feel like, again, alluding to what we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
I like to think I have a lot of patience, but you know what? I'm proven wrong every day sometimes.
Oh, yeah. And diplomacy. It'll teach you diplomacy, like how to address people without shooting off the hip or losing clients or just causing a bigger scene than necessary. Hospitality teaches you how to think on your feet. It's a problem-solving situation. It's multitasking. I mean, and at the end of the day, it teaches you how to appreciate someone that will one day be in your shoes when you're the one sitting at the table and someone's waiting on you.
Right. Absolutely. And again, I just treat people like they should be treated. Like if I walked into a restaurant and sat down at a table, but also on the flip side of it, it built up a level of expectation in my own head. So now when I go out to eat, I expect a certain level. I always give them graces. You never know what's going on in the
Absolutely.
kitchen.
Right.
You don't know if they're understaffed. You don't know if the bartender needs help. You don't know if the manager is,
You don't know if that waitress or waiter is having a bad day.
you have no idea.
Yeah, you have no idea.
But I also have found that if I'm with a group of people, whether it's family or friends, and they're frustrated, I'm always the one making excuses for the staff.
Absolutely.
And I'm like, oh, well, the kitchen's probably backed up. The server has no control over how fast our food comes out.
Correct.
They're sitting there waiting at the line, waiting for the food to come out so they can bring it to us.
Correct. They're the middleman.
Exactly. We are the customer. The kitchen is producing the product. The server is simply the communication.
Yeah.
And have you ever been out to eat with people that are extremely rude to wait staff? It's so uncomfortable. Especially now having worked in a restaurant.
Yeah, you know what I see more and sometimes it would be even from the older people in my family is like the passive aggressive approach.
Oh.
And I'm like, what are you doing?
Right.
You know that I've been in this industry forever. My kids grew up in this industry. What is the deal? You can ask for something, do whatever, but just leave the passive aggressiveness out of it. It's that's one thing I can't stand. It's just so disrespectful and condescending sometimes. Where I'm like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's not her fault that your steak wasn't cooked right.
Right.
Again, it's the kitchen. It's like blaming the Amazon driver for your package not showing up on time.
Yeah.
Amazon didn't ship it on time. So complain to somebody else, not the middleman.
Correct. Package, the delivery driver is in the same position as the server is.
Correct.
It's just giving you, it's just the middleman.
Correct.
I was out to eat and I got bitched at by my mom for this move. But her dad, my grandpa, we were out to eat with them and the restaurant was busy, crazy busy. And the server, she's running around, she's doing her thing. And my grandpa leans over to me and he's just like, I need a refill. And I'm like, she'll get to it. At this point, I've already worked at this restaurant. I'm like, she'll get to it, Gramps. Yeah. She's keeping an eye on us, whether you think she is or not. She's looking.
Right.
She knows what's going on with all of her tables.
Right.
And eventually she walks by and makes eye contact with us. And he holds his cup up and he goes,
oh, man.
And in that moment, I don't know what happened, but I absolutely disrespected my grandpa and was like, Grandpa, put your hand down.
Right.
And my mom afterwards, I could look across the table. She's beaming.
Yeah. Well, and you're not the only one. And when you're in that situation, working hospitality in whatever category it might be, again, you have to think on your feet. You're multitasking. You have to prioritize.
Yeah.
If you've got 7 to 10 tables and you're short staffed, then
you're not worried about the Diet Coke that needs to be refilled.
No, you're going to make it. Chomp on your ice until I can get to you. And I can understand, if someone's just learning and they're in the weeds or whatever, and they haven't learned the diplomacy of just coming around being like, you know what, I know that you need another drink. I'll be here in a second. But
that's all it takes.
That's all it takes. But there's a lot that you've got to prioritize and think about and remember. And when you've got that one table that's like, can I have some extra ketchup? Oh, I forgot. Can I get an extra napkin?
Yeah.
Oh, and I forgot. Can I get a straw?
That's low on the totem pole.
Yeah, it's nickel and diming you basically every single time. Like, oh my God, okay, I'll be right back.
And afterwards, my mom was like, I can't believe you just did that to your grandfather. I was like, Mom, I don't care how old you are, the disrespect isn't allowed.
Correct.
I hate this notion in society that the older you are, the more you should be able to get away with. Mm-hmm. Whereas on some things maybe, but when it comes to disrespecting other people or treating other people like shit, I don't jive with that.
No, or thinking that you're more important than the person in the table next to you.
I learned in that moment in working that job for the year and a half, 2 years I worked there. I was like, oh, okay. So this is my first example of seeing that some people, when they leave their house, they automatically think, if someone else is serving me, I get to treat them how I want to. Mm-hmm. And that is not how I feel at all. I often get criticized by people by being too lenient on wait staff or on people. I'm like, just, give them the benefit of the doubt. You don't know what's going on back there.
Well, and at the end of the day, good Lord, is it going to ruin your life?
Yeah.
I understand everybody's hungry or whatever.
Right.
And just like you said, I always try to give that grace, but I also know the standards of what is acceptable. I mean, I've had lazy servers. I've had lazy people that have worked with me, but it is what it is. It's not, I'm not going to end my life because my cheeseburger took 15 minutes longer than I thought.
Just because
that
you
it was
can't get
going
your
to.
fish tacos in less than 10 minutes doesn't mean that the world's going to burn down.
Right. Like just chill out and relax and enjoy the company that you're with.
Exactly. Oof, that felt good to get out. Yeah, I mean, I agree with your sentiment, and people should. I've heard that example used of you need to serve in the military, or you need to. Sometimes it's an and, sometimes it's an or you need to work in a restaurant for 2 years, or hospitality of some kind.
Right.
You need to serve other people in some capacity, because there's a lot of people that just, again,
they're oblivious.
Oh, so oblivious.
Yeah, and it really helped with my 3 kids because, their dad is in hospitality. So my first marriage, I married it. I very much know it, the ins and outs, the starting of a business, the running of a business, staffing the business, like all of those things. And, when my kids needed extra money, they had the, I guess, benefit of being able to just go wait tables or to just go do catering or like whatever. But at the same time, it was teaching them, yes, you're going to do this job, but don't be walking around like you're someone special because you know the owner or you think that you've got an in or anything like that. But it helped them understand that double-sidedness of, now I'm the one bringing the plates. Now I'm the one bussing the table. Now I'm the one that's getting yelled at. And at an early age, I think that helped teach them a different aspect of respect outside of what I was teaching them inside the home. It's just like playing sports. You have to listen to somebody else. You've got a different boss. It's not me. You've got somebody at work that you're accountable to. You've got a job that you have to perform that you're not going to get excuses for. And you're also going to have to learn how to treat people. And you're going to have to learn how to be quote unquote yelled at by customers. And you're going to have to learn how to respond. Like all those life lessons get culminated and refined in a really quick, short period of time. It's the hospitality, I've always said, it's trial by fire. And them being able to step into that at an early age, I think helped reinforce what I was teaching them at home.
Yeah, absolutely. So with hospitality, so your kid's dad is in hospitality. Is that where y'all met?
Yes.
We don't have to dive too deep into that.
Yeah.
I forgot to tell you before we started that anything that we do talk about, it's always editable. So if we do talk about something that you're not a fan of, we can always take it out later. Or if you are like, let's not talk about that, you can just stop it and we can move on.
No, I mean, it's fine. It's
forgot to say that up front.
Part of my life journey that got me to where I am. And it's a real factor even today because, again, our kids work in it. Yes, he is actively a restaurant owner and has been in hospitality. He's been doing that ever since I met him. So I was going to a liberal arts college in LaGrange, Georgia. I quit college because of such a small town mentality that it was in. Came home and it was like one of the only bars / restaurants that was in Kennesaw at the time. So I was like, I'm here so much. I need to start getting a job here because I'm running out of money. So if I'm here so much, I might as well get something beneficial out of it. And he was the bartender. So we met there. And I think probably within 2 years we're married and our first and only daughter was born. And so they've just grown up knowing the reality of that world and also what it takes to run a business.
I feel like some of the issues I struggle with that we talked about earlier are because my 2 siblings were athletes. So they've always been in sports and they didn't have to work real jobs until after college or during college when they worked like an internship or something. So I feel like when I have issues with them, it's always about communication.
Right.
And it's because they've gotten far better at it now, especially my sister, because before it was just hard as an older brother to be able to talk to a younger sister.
Sure.
It was really difficult for me. Now we've kind of navigated past that, but I mean, it's making small talk with them is hard. It's really, really hard. And sometimes I still struggle. I'm like, I don't know how to continue this when you're not adding anything to this conversation.
Correct. And that's another thing is like nowadays, I don't feel like there's a lot of learning in that face-to-face and again, thinking on your feet and and skills to be able to have a conversation with somebody, even face to face, because of phones and social media and everything else. And my kids had to learn that. I mean, there's so much that working in hospitality, whatever category it might be, because it's a huge category, it teaches you those things. And you might be as pissed as it comes, but you have to walk back to that table, that client, whoever it is, your boss, and you have to diplomatically navigate that conversation to not burn bridges or to not get 2 cents left on the table for you, especially if you're trying to make money. You don't get the luxury of coming back to the table and being an asshole.
Right.
You just don't.
Right. Nobody, at the end of the day, emotions are emotions, but being an asshole is going to get you nowhere.
Nowhere.
If anything, it's going to put you in the opposite direction.
Correct.
Which is where I'm at right now. Is like when someone initiates a conversation and they're aggressive from the get-go and they're not giving you context, they're just attacking and being an asshole just for the sake of being an asshole.
Right.
It really starts to weigh down the conversation, and the conversation's doomed from the time it starts.
Correct. It's already on fire.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do you, I think I love my phone and I love the technology and I love social media, but there's also this huge like dark cloud that is the internet that is like, I think that the internet is part to blame for all of the, especially with younger generations, not being able to communicate. They can't have face-to-face
100%.
conversations. They don't know how to interview for a job. They don't know how to have normal, simple back and forths like we're having.
Absolutely.
It's so difficult to get them to talk.
And this whole movement, I think stems from that, where it's the Netflix and chill. Like everybody's good just staying at home on their couch, literally in their bed. And if they're not watching an app, they're on an app. Like it's so weird to me, because it's like people, naturally humans, are meant to socialize. We, one way or another, we are a herd mentality of an existence, and people want that camaraderie. They want that acceptance. They want those relationships and friendships, because obviously outside of that, people seem so depressed,
miserable.
Yeah. And like this huge increase in depression and anxiety. I'm like, yeah, because you're always alone. You're always at home watching something, either the TV or on your phone, but yet your DNA you're making craves
socialization.
Yeah, socializing. And then because you're not doing it, then you forget how to communicate. Like, it's just like any other skill.
It's like a nutrient. If you don't feed it and you don't constantly grow it and nurture it, it's going to die. And once it's dead, I mean, not to make it even deeper, but I mean, we can go deep, but I mean, like, all the times that you see on the news with these shootings and stuff, I mean, it's always a person that is alone. They're always neglected. It's always, they don't get the attention that they want, so they lash out and seek attention.
Right.
And it's like, come on, people, what more do you have to do? The evidence is all here.
Yes. And I've worked with younger people too, like my kids, like their generation and everything. And they have real corporate jobs, but almost every single one of them are medicated for anxiety. And I'm like, you're anxious. You have anxiety over basic functioning things. So you're getting anxiety because outside of this, you don't put yourself in a situation that requires you to sharpen that skill of communication and accountability and responsibility. So when you're faced with it, all of a sudden you get stressed out and you shut down because you haven't sharpened that skill. So it's like a catch-22. If you don't ever willingly put yourself, obviously, in a controlled and safe situation, then you're never going to grow. But then everybody gets irritated too, where it's like, I just don't feel satisfied. I don't feel successful. I don't feel like I'm moving forward towards anything. I'm like, well, I don't guess so, because you're constantly isolating yourself.
Right.
So how do you grow in isolation?
Right. And it's like, I just feel like people just don't, people, the more you complain and the more you dwell in it, the less progress you make. I mean, it's just the more that you attack others and the more that you isolate yourself from others, it's like you said, the herd mentality. Like, I used to get in here and I used to not want to interview any other marketers because I was like, because I do marketing stuff for myself and for other businesses too. I don't want to interview other marketing business owners because that feels like it's promoting businesses that are more successful than mine and therefore deserve the money and attention from other people to them instead. But then I got into this herd mentality mindset of like, well, there's enough food for all of us to eat.
Correct.
So I can talk to other people in the same profession as me,
Right.
and we all still can eat.
Yeah.
It's
can
like,
all make it.
but if you start to shut yourself out from other stuff like that, it just begins to fall apart. And that's when the negativity creeps in and the isolation. And then it's just,
and the self-doubt
is so,
all of those things.
And I think another problem with the social media stuff is that you're constantly comparing yourself to other people.
Right.
And it's like, I can easily, I follow dozens of podcasters on social media because I also enjoy listening to them as much as I love making them.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, how did these, there's this one podcast that I helped, I consulted for, and they're crazy successful now.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got huge brand deals. They've got celebrity guests, crazy.
Yeah.
But I'm still in the local community phase
Right.
of everything. And I see their success on social media, and I won't lie, there's some times where I'm like, son of a bitch.
Sure.
Like, what did I do wrong on my end? But then
I think that's only natural.
I don't think my advice to them was what put them to the top. I think that their hard work is obvious. I mean, they definitely did 98% of the work, and I gave them 2% of a little tidbit and advice of when they were starting. But I can't help but think and see their success on social media, or see their follower count, or see their like count,
and wonder what you're missing,
and wonder like, what the hell am I doing wrong?
Right. Oh yeah. I mean, I do.
It's so hard.
Sure. I do that because I follow plenty of other event planners, or even if it's a niche in decor or balloon garlands or whatever, I follow plenty of them and have learned from them. But I felt like they were kind of like in the same place that I was. And then all of a sudden, they've got 500,000 followers and I've got 500.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? Like, I'm trying to do the same thing. And I know that I don't post all the quote unquote content that you're supposed to post, but I'm a solopreneur. Yeah. So I'm working.
You're doing the shit yourself.
Yeah. I don't have time all the time to sit down on the couch and Netflix and chill and just not do anything. Like, I'm always doing something behind the scenes, on the scenes,
correct,
one way or another. So I just don't have time to post content 5 times a day. And to be honest, it's exhausting.
It is exhausting.
It's like when it first came out years ago, when I was working for the first little mom and pop event planner, and digital marketing or your social media manager was first coming onto the scene, as far as that's not a job. I thought it was comical. I was like, oh, okay. We're going to pay someone to post on Instagram and Facebook or whatever. And now, once again, don't throw shade until you walk in somebody else's shoes. Sure. Now that I have to do it myself, I'm like, what the?
You're like, this is a job in and of itself.
Yeah. And I'm like, no wonder it has become a job, because I just don't have time.
Well, yeah. Which is funny, Holly, because that's exactly how I pitch myself to people, is I post so you don't have to.
Oh, perfect. There you go. Look at that.
Which, yeah, I mean, I was talking to somebody earlier today, and I was like, yeah, I have one client that I help, and she doesn't care about engagement. She doesn't care about likes. She doesn't care about following. She just wants somebody to post about her and about her business, because she literally has no time to do it.
Right.
And I'm like, oh yeah, if you don't care about metrics and stuff, then I'll whip up a couple things a week. I'll post them on Tuesday and Thursday, and we'll call it a day.
Right.
I mean, and that's what she likes. Now, some people expect the growth and expect the engagement and expect that. And that is a whole lot more work. But I mean, I feel like some people just need the exposure. I think you need to do it. I mean,
yeah, I know I have to do it. And I mean,
we'll talk later, Holly.
Yeah, that's I mean, why I do it. Not because necessarily I enjoy it, but because that's the world that we live in. And I get a lot of clients that way. So it's like, if you're not doing it, I'm dead in the water before I even begin.
Do you find a lot of your business from social media, or from being on the internet, period?
Yes, it's social media, but now at this stage in the game, it's also word of mouth. Like I get a lot of previous clients that refer me to other people, or they're repeat clients and stuff like that. But yeah, I get a lot of inquiries, but I feel like, especially over the past year, in where I was, like North Georgia, there weren't a lot of event planners or decor people at all. And now there's like a crap ton of them. And I think in probably like a year ago, I got a lot of inquiries, but I felt like it was more people kind of pirating my prices or my ideas or whatever, because they just never followed through.
Yeah. I'm intrigued because I'm thinking about doing something. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm really leaning towards doing an event also. So let's turn this into a mini consultation.
Okay.
So you're doing event planning. When someone's like, "Hey, I want to throw a party for 300 people," what's the first questions that you ask them to like get started on it? Like, what's the occasion, or
what's the date, and do you have a venue?
So will you, in terms of your services, will you go and I say, "Hey, I don't have a venue, but I have the date I want to do it." Are you like, "All right, bet, let's go find a venue"?
Yeah.
Like you handle from the day that we're going to start planning to the day that the party happens?
100%. If that's the package that they want,
Sure.
Because there's full service, there's partial planning, and then there's like just day of on-site management. So if someone, which is what I always suggest, not because I get paid more, but because it just makes the whole process more streamlined. Right. Especially for me, is to do the full planning. And if someone hires me for full planning, then I have to get your date, your RSVP count,
everything,
and where you want this to be. And then if you don't have a venue, that's one of the first things that we have to nail down, because people also think they can wait until the last minute. Because again, they think they're the only ones at the table, and they're not. And because there are some, the bigger that it is, the further out you need to book your venue, because they get booked up a year in advance, easy, depending on what kind it is. If it's corporate, wedding, birthday, whatever, it might differentiate in the options that you have for a venue. But yes, I handle everything from every single detail. Your venue, your decor, I help you plan it, I secure it, I make sure that it's getting installed, I run all of the logistics for day of, all of your other vendors that you want, because obviously I have relationships and a database of DJs, caterers, photo booths, whatever that detail may be. And so I secure it for you, I give you the quotes. It's kind of like what I've told people before is, I'm kind of like the real estate agent. Yeah. When you're trying to buy a house. So I'm your middleman. I negotiate everything. Yeah. I nail down the payments.
We're a travel agent even.
Right. The contracts.
I'm getting the airline tickets, the on-site transportation, the excursions, right, everything in between. I am the person.
Correct.
It would make sense. It makes sense when you say like you'd rather be the full service person, because if you're planning a wedding for 8 months and then the day of the wedding you hand the reins to somebody else that has no idea about anything, that'd be silly.
Yeah.
Why not just use the same person? I mean, I'm sure people have different kinds of events that require different amounts of planning, some more tedious and intense than others.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't make sense for me to be like, "All right, Holly, we're good. All right, here, Brad, here's my day of coordinate." I'm going to pay another person that knows nothing.
Yeah.
You've spent the last 3 months planning my party, and now I'm just going to give it to some dude.
Right.
It makes no sense.
And I'm like, obviously being in the industry for as long as I have, I know the things that can go wrong.
Yeah.
And that's obviously what I'm trying to avoid for you, because that's obviously the biggest complaint that people have afterwards. So I'm trying to make it as stress-free and as streamlined as possible. And when I get thrown in the mix, or you've waited to the last minute and you've got an event in 3 weeks and you expect miracles because you thought you could DIY it, and I can appreciate that, but you've got a full-time job. This is my full-time job.
Correct.
So you're trying to DIY it on your 5 to 9 after your job, when you're already mentally exhausted and you can't keep track of anything because you haven't been answering emails during the day like I can do. And so they get totally frustrated and realize I can't DIY it. Here's my tangled ball of yarn. Please make sense of it for me.
Right.
And that's where they start to understand the worth of what you're paying me for.
Right.
Because it is my experience. It is my database. It's my knowledge. And for you to be able to actually show up and enjoy your event instead of run your event, that's a completely different mindset.
Yeah, that's the problem with it. I mean, back before I got married, I was like, I don't need a day of coordinator. I don't need that. That sounds silly.
Yeah.
But then the way they pitched it was just like, you're going to be with your dudes, your groomsmen. She's going to be with her ladies.
Right.
You don't want to do that yourself. You don't want to work the day of your wedding.
Correct.
And it's like, oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and that's the mentality I don't understand is how far disconnected people can be from it, or they think, oh well, my girlfriend planned hers 2 years ago, so she's going to be my coordinator day of, and I'm like, your friend,
your best friend.
So your best friend isn't in your wedding,
right? So
your friend isn't going to get to enjoy the event either.
Right.
She's going to have to be serving you and keeping you on your itinerary and making sure that you guys are showing up for the photographer, and they're going to make sure that the catering is opening on time. And
all the things.
What?
That sounds. You're going to make your best friend also work the day of your wedding.
Correct. I mean, to me, it's just
silly.
Selfish.
Yeah, it's selfish.
Yeah, where it's like, these are the people that are supposed to be important to you, but you've turned them into staff. And then not only that, you're also trusting one of the most important days of your life to Aunt Betty or your girlfriend or just some random, because you don't want to pay someone's planning fee ahead of time to ensure the safety of that important day going as smoothly and as enjoyably as it possibly could.
Yeah.
So you get what you pay for.
Oh, absolutely. I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure. How do you manage multiple clients at once? That sounds terrifying. Like, imagine like ordering the caterer for the wrong event, but when it's supposed to be for his event, but you ordered it for her event.
Yeah.
Or flip-flopping. So, I mean, you got to be incredibly organized.
Yeah, and it's more times than not, it's in my mind.
Yeah.
Because I know each event, what level they are, as far as which one's coming first, and which one's quote unquote more important, and those top 3 to 5 things that have to get booked, like, are non-negotiable. So with any event, that's the thing that I try to knock out first. The venue, the catering. Do you want decor? Do you want a DJ? Do you want a bar? So when we start nailing down those things, keeping them organized, especially in my brain, just because I've been doing it for so long, I know where each person is, and I know where I am in the process, and I know my deadline. Like, I know how quickly I have to get a caterer. I know the caterer's deadlines and when they need numbers. I know the DJs of how soon or how late they can be booked. So it can be difficult. It's very stressful. It's more stressful than I think a lot of people would assume that it is, because everybody just thinks, oh, what a fun job. And it is. But there's a lot of stress that goes to it, especially when you're trying to please people.
There's a lot of logistics too that is just out of your control.
Right. There's a lot of moving parts to every single event. And the bigger it is, the more details there are to shuffle around, and you have to know what each one of those vendor needs. You have to know the space that each vendor takes. You need to know their requirements when they need to load in, load out. There's a lot of moving parts, but it's kind of also how my brain works, of organized chaos.
Sure. There was a few weeks ago, I threw a Halloween party at home, and even during that, I was like, I wish I had someone here just running the show, just taking out the trash, refilling the cooler, making sure the drinks were fully, making sure there were enough Solo cups on the counter, like restocking the chip bowl when the queso and chips got low. I mean, it was just like, I feel like I didn't even get to enjoy my Halloween party because I was too busy running the damn party.
Right.
Making sure the music's going. Like, make sure the speaker doesn't die. It's like,
so we do like a lot of milestone birthday parties, and especially when people have the space to do it at their home, like in their basement, or they have a huge backyard and a pool and things like that. Yeah. So we do a lot of turning 40, 50, 60 kind of birthdays. And while in the beginning, again, when you think that you can DIY it, of like, oh, we're just going to have some food, or we're just going to have some drinks. But when you get an event planner and they start walking you through the process of what each one of those things means, then it's like, oh, I didn't think about that. I'm like, I know.
Yeah,
because
that's why I do what I do.
Exactly. That's why this is my job and you have your own job.
Yep.
So when they realize, again, the worth and your experience, then it's so much easier to work with those people, but to walk them through it, nail all of those details for them. And when we're on site managing it, I'm the one that talks to the caterer. I'm the one that goes and makes sure that the bar is being replenished. I'm the one making sure there's enough ice and there's enough koozies, or they've got enough Mick Ultra.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the one making sure that, again, like Aunt Betty and Uncle John aren't causing a scene in front of anybody. I'm making sure that the cake is presented at the time that it's supposed to be presented, and the DJ knows what time it's being presented, and the birthday song is being sang when it's supposed to, where the birthday presents are supposed to go, and to make sure that all the desserts are set out and not set out too soon, that they're not going to melt in Georgia 90-degree heat.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of stuff that gets handled, and they get to socialize and they get to
enjoy themselves,
make their plate of food and sit down with the guest of honor and have a drink and enjoy the rest of the night.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, it's crazy. Even just like I can picture people saying, "Oh, that's all easy." It might be when that's your only responsibility. Mm-hmm. But if you are the guest of honor and you're trying to juggle the event logistics with enjoying yourself, and I mean, part of the problem that I hate with throwing parties is that, first of all, I love entertaining. I love throwing parties.
Yes, I do too.
But like bouncing from person to person to person, they feel like you give them each their own deserved time for coming out and being at your place. It's a nightmare, but I love it so much. I love like being a pinball and just bouncing around the room.
Yeah, again, the socializing.
Yeah. It's tough when you're trying to enjoy yourself, but B, also make sure the party's going all right. It's like at the Halloween party, someone came to me and they're like, "Hey, where do I throw the trash out?" And I'm like, "Oh, no, don't do that. Don't do that. Please don't do that." Right. You're like, "Oh man, no, I already tied the bag up." I'm like, "Right, give it to me. I'll take it."
Right.
And it's like moments like that where I was like, damn, I wish I had someone here just working.
Yeah, see, we take care of all of that. And even something as simple, normally it's women that reach out to me more times than not. And so they're the ones that are hosting, but they're the ones also that in the beginning kind of got the ball rolling and then handed it over to me. And you know what I get more times than not from women that have tried to do it in the past and now want an event planner is, I just want time to get ready.
Hey, there you go.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
Because when you do it enough yourself and you're running around like a chicken with its head cut off and you're trying to set out all the decor and throw the linens and the centerpieces and the food and everything else, and you look like a hot mess and you've run out of time for yourself to just decompress and go upstairs and fix your hair and get dressed the way that you want to, you're exhausted before the event even begins. So I have more women than not come back after they've tried an event themselves and are like, you know what? I just want time to enjoy the entire process, go upstairs and get ready at my own pace, and then come down when the guests are arriving. I'm like, exactly, because everybody knows if there's one thing women enjoy, it's getting ready for a party.
Absolutely. Maybe I was a woman in a past life because I love getting ready for a party. I love partying. It's so fun. There's nothing better to me than hosting an event and seeing all your favorite people in the same room, like interacting with each other.
Yeah.
Maybe it's my ego. I'm like, all these people, they like me.
No, I'm the same. I love it. That's why I always did it for my kids and wanted them to feel celebrated. And I wanted them to be surrounded on that special day, whatever it might be, by people that they love. And when you walk into a room full of friends and family, it's a good feeling. And that's the way that it should be. You shouldn't be stressed out looking like a swamp monster because you haven't had time to do anything. It should be happy and stress-free and enjoyable, and walk in and be able to see a room full of people there specifically to celebrate you.
Yeah, at that party, one of my friends texted me the next day. He was like, "Dude, I'm crazy hungover." I was like, "I don't feel like I even drank."
Yeah.
Because I feel like I didn't even had time to drink.
Yeah.
I feel like I had 1 or 2 drinks and then the night was over all of a sudden.
You missed out on all the selfies.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're like, was I even there?
For real, there was a ton of group pictures taken and I was not in any of them.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, damn.
You have to Photoshop yourself.
For real. I'm just going to like Photoshop my face in the background. What are some misconceptions people have about the event? I know one of them being the one we just talked about of like, oh, it's easy or anyone can do that.
Well, one of the bigger ones is as soon as you say that you're an event planner, people 1000% think that the only thing you do is plan weddings.
Oh.
And I'm like, I don't know where
Do you plan weddings?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I mean, it's under that umbrella.
Yeah,
Like there's
yeah.
1,000 different events. You
Yeah.
know, we do corporate events, galas, fundraisers, grand openings, Christmas events, New Year's, holidays, birthdays,
Everything.
baby showers, everything. If one of my taglines literally is, if you can celebrate it, we can coordinate it.
Hey, that's good.
Because it's the shortest and easiest way to explain to somebody what an event planner is. It's like, will I do a wedding? Sure, but that's not the only thing that I do. And one of the other biggest misconceptions is, besides it not being that hard, is what are you doing to earn your fee? And so again, that goes all the way back to the beginning of you've never walked in these shoes. You've never
Right.
done anything in hospitality. It's everything that's behind the scenes, like hours and hours and hours of time and planning and design and mock-ups and contracts and emails, not just between the client, but between you and all the other vendors. Like it is a lot of behind the scenes work, so that when the day comes, you know, you've got your itinerary, whether it's a wedding or any other event. I always have an itinerary, especially for my team that might be helping me on site, that everybody knows this is what's happening time by slot by slot by slot, so that there are no surprises, even though 100% of the time there's always going to be, in hospitality, again, it's trial by fire.
Yeah.
There's always going to be something thrown at you. But if you have, for the most part, an idea of how everything's supposed to run, and you've done it enough, you think on your feet, you can solve that in real time. There's no guessing at it. So people don't know the hours behind the scenes that it takes.
And it's also your example earlier. It's the me freaking out because the cake didn't get delivered at the time that it said it was supposed to, while you're doing your hair upstairs.
Correct.
I'm scrambling, trying to figure out what the hell I'm going to do with a cake that isn't here when it's supposed to be here.
Yeah, I had a corporate event about a year ago, and it was an employee appreciation thing. So it was like this huge lighting company.
Sure.
Well, they had this huge outdoor space, and I had organized like 4 or 5 food trucks or something. Well, one of the food trucks, okay, so I live in Canton. The event was in like Swanee. So it wasn't close to my home.
Not close.
So because the invoice was paid with my business credit card, they had my home address. So the food truck showed up at my home, and then they're calling me, and I'm like, I don't think we're at the right place. And so that we get through the whole conversation. I was like, what the hell? Like, why are you at my house? I sent you guys the address out, and I always do like aerial views also to show everybody where everybody's going.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, that's nice.
When they were pissed at me saying that I gave them the wrong address,
let's go get the receipts.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I keep receipts.
Yep.
And especially communication in email. But you can't even get into that tick for tat when you're on site, because I'm like, dude, you've got a 45-minute drive.
Yeah.
To
get your ass out
here.
here.
However fast that food truck goes, I need you to be on it.
Yeah.
So it's situations like that, but the client never knew that.
No.
Because they're not supposed to.
No.
So I handle those fires, and I put them out, and they don't ever have to know, nor should they. But it's stuff like that goes on in planning. Even as best as you can, there's always going to be a wrench thrown at you. So you got to think on your feet.
What made you think of Honeybee? Why that? Why the name?
So growing up, I stayed with my grandmother a lot, and she was, among other things, she was a beekeeper. So she always made her own honey.
Okay.
But also growing up, my oldest sister, because her name was Helen, but she couldn't really say Helen, but she knew that she robbed bees for their honey. So we always called her Granny Honey. So she passed away probably 7 years ago. And I always knew in the back of my mind, when I was going to start my own company, that it was just going to be in homage to her. So it's Honeybee because of her.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That's very sweet.
Yeah, it was very close to her. So it just fit, and it was cute, and it's catchy, just like you remembered it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. How could you forget? I'm curious. If you don't want to talk about it, we don't have to. But in my intro for you, I read off something that you gave me this exact wording, so I'm not pulling strings.
Yeah.
But you said that, where is it? She has 3 kids and was a stay-at-home mom until life took a different turn.
Yeah.
What was that turn?
That would be a divorce
Okay.
with their father
Okay.
and everything that went into it.
Okay.
Yeah.
We can cut that out if you want me to.
I mean, it's part of my history.
Part of your story.
I mean, everybody, well, not everybody, but a lot of people get divorced, but I no longer had the option to be a stay-at-home mom. So
What's that like? I mean, going from being a stay-at-home mom to all of a sudden you've got to do something.
It was hell.
Yeah.
Literally. Like it was, because unfortunately, also all the years that I was a stay-at-home mom, I did a lot of stuff single-handedly because he was in the hospitality industry. So you're talking, he had 16-hour days sometimes, especially when you're getting a restaurant open and the staffing, and it was all on his shoulders. While I could appreciate that, there's still something else to be said that your family's at home.
Right.
So if you're always at work, then guess where you're not?
Home.
You're not at home. So I didn't have a lot of help with everything. And it still kind of taught me, like I've always said too, like when people say, what do you do when you're a stay-at-home mom? What you do when you're a stay-at-home mom should be a full-on resume, because the question should be, what do you not do? Like, I got my kids to school. I did their homework. I got them fed. I cooked every meal from
Doctor's appointments.
Scratch. Yeah.
Activities.
I put fires out. Yeah. Trying to get them to eat their vegetables when they didn't want to, clean their room when they didn't want to. I was trying to be chauffeur because 2 of them played competitive sports. And you have to juggle a lot and then also keep your sanity and also keep your softness to where you're not just turning into a drill sergeant with your kids. You have to 100% perfect your patience and your empathy for your children, because otherwise it does just turn into a job. So when that was all going on, unfortunately, me being a stay-at-home mom wasn't, I would say, appreciated as much as went into it, because there was a lot of sweat and sacrifice on a stay-at-home mom's end that also doesn't get seen.
What's funny about the name stay-at-home mom is that it's got the almost preconceived notion that there's a lot of sitting around.
Oh, yeah.
And that's not the case.
Yeah,
Because my mom was also a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah, yeah.
And when I was a kid, I also would chalk it down or be like, oh, mom's lazy or something. But as an adult, dude, mom worked just as hard as dad.
Oh,
if not harder.
Just as hard. Well, on top of it, you're having to have a communication with 3 little people and guide them through life without losing your own mind.
Yeah.
And you're raising these human beings to try to be, emotionally sound, mentally stable, productive human beings, and make sure they've got their projects for the next day. Like, it's mentally.
You are the operations manager of your home.
Correct. And there's times where you're just craving an adult conversation, because he got to go to work and talk and train adults. Well, I'm training toddlers.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a different level.
You'll go crazy.
Yeah. I mean, my God, if Barney came on the TV one more time, I thought I was going to shoot myself in the foot. I was like, I can't stand this dude. Like, I don't know who's in that costume. I was like, I hated Barney. But you have to do whatever it takes to get through the day. And a lot of times at the end of the day, you look like a hot mess, and there wasn't a lot of outlets as far as like then, because my oldest daughter, she's in her late 20s. So my therapy, my counseling, who I got to vent to were my 2 older sisters. And we got each other, not just through our childhood, but also through motherhood. And even from my friends back then, because I was a mother at a young age, like by 22, 21, 22. And not that I obviously regret it, but your friends are still going out. They're at the time.
They're still going to the bars.
Yeah, going to Buckhead, doing this and traveling and doing whatever. So you feel very isolated from your spouse and then also your friend group. So it's like, okay, well, no one understands what I'm going through. No one is really here to tell me I'm doing a good job. And that's what my sisters were for me. And it's a lot managing little humans, and it 100% should be things that you should be able to get on your resume, because I can tell you what, those things that I learned as a young mother have risen to the surface of my ability and my skill. It has fed into what I'm capable of doing now.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, all that stuff sounds exactly what I've heard my mom say. I mean, growing up, it's easy to discount it, be like, because, you know, when we were little kids, and I think my mom struggled with this for a long time, is at Christmas time, you know, once we, in case there's kids listening to this, which I don't think there are, but once we learned the truth about Christmas, we would say, thank you, Dad.
Yeah.
And my mom would say, me too. And as a kid, I'd be like, you're not bringing in any money.
Yeah. What are you doing?
What are you doing?
Yeah.
But now as an adult, I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
That probably hurt her feelings like a motherfucker.
Absolutely.
And
on top of it, you know, it always seems to be by default that the dad's the fun parent. You know, and especially
more often than not, he was.
Yeah, more often than not, that's how they get seen. And it's always the mom that gets labeled as the nag or the disciplinarian, or just almost irritated all the time. Like, but there's so much that has to get done, and it's not an option. And someone has to make sure that it gets done, that your laundry's clean, that your bellies are full, that you're bathed, and you learned how to brush your teeth correctly and learned how to put on deodorant, and that you've got your science project that's due tomorrow that you haven't even started.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of frustration that goes into it, and they're little human beings. It's not an employee that you get to say as an adult to adult, like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah. You got to be like,
yeah, no one
get off your bed. Let's go.
Yeah, no one gets to shove a training manual to you across the table as a parent or to your children. You know, so you're learning everything on the fly because there's no manual to go to as a parent.
Yeah.
So it's
there's not a rule book, and there's not a one size fits all.
No.
Everybody's different.
The kids in the same house.
Yeah. Not even with,
Yeah. There's parenting techniques that had to get applied to each kid because they're all completely
so different.
100%.
I would say that's very accurate for my household, for my parents' household.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to brag or anything, but I've been often told that I was a fairly easy kid.
Yeah.
My brother and sister, though, good Lord, they gave, if anything, I was the kid that teased my parents in thinking, oh man, this parenthood thing is not that bad.
Yeah.
Boom. Middle kid comes, hellion. Last kid comes, hellion. Now, there's things I'm sure that they used on those two that they didn't have to use with me because I wasn't an athlete.
Right.
I wasn't overthinking being a part of a team or wondering if I was pulling my own weight or, you know, I wasn't navigating those challenges. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy how a bunch of people cut from the same cloth. You'll have to use a different strategy for each of them.
Absolutely. And I'm the baby out of my family. So I was the hellion.
Yeah.
But I wasn't that until I got to be like 15.
You get a little rowdy.
Yeah.
You go through a rowdy phase.
Oh my God. Yeah. I know that I gave my mom hell, and it is what it is, but it also was kind of my personality because I'm very independent and I'm very black and white, and I'm very, like I said before, like if I say that I'm going to do something,
I'm going to do the damn thing.
I'm going to do it, and there's not going to be any 50% about it. So I applied that at a young age. But up until then, my mom will always say I was her easiest kid because she didn't have to get me up for school. She didn't have to fight me at the dinner table. She didn't have to fight me for my homework. I hated missing school. I hated being late. I hated sharing meals like we had. So if you put a plate of food in front of me, I wasn't going to bitch about what was on it. As long as it was mine, I was good with that. So she didn't have to ever really get on to me for any of those basic things.
I loved how you said when you texted me that you were on your way, you're like, I'll be there at like 3:05. Is that okay?
Yeah.
I'm like, yes, it's okay. Because I also relate in that I hate being late.
Yeah.
And if I'm if I'm not 5 to 10 minutes early, I consider myself late.
Yeah.
If I get there right at 3 o'clock,
Yeah.
I'm like, damn, I'm late. My wife's like, no, we're not.
Well, and see, the funny thing about that is that's how I am more in my professional world. Like, I always try to be 10 to 15 minutes early, but in my personal life, every
Are you the late
single
friend?
one of my friends will tell you, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
You like being on time?
Yeah.
I'm late to everything.
Are you really?
Oh yeah, 100%. Because I'm going to get there when I'm going to get there. Because there's being an event planner, when you're the one that gets to show up somewhere else, then I'm going to take my time and I'm going to enjoy it, and I'm going to make sure that I'm dressed, and I'm not going to stress about it because I know y'all are all still going to be there.
True.
You know what I mean? It's not like I'm missing a reservation or anything. I'm not going to be disrespectful like that. But every single one of my friends will be like, who's the late friend in the group? Me, Holly.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
That's so funny. It irks me to be late for anything, even for things that you don't even need to be late for. Like, even if there's not like a deadline to be somewhere, I'm like, oh my God, we got to go. We got to get there. We got to go. And people are like, chill, dude. I'm like, no, but we got to get there.
Yeah. Cause see, I don't know if that's just how my brain decompresses or what, but again, like in my professional life, because I know I have to live by deadlines, like there's no sick day. Like when you have an event, the event's that day.
Yeah.
There's no makeup. There's no turn your work in late kind of situation. Like it's do or die. You have to have it in line. So in my personal life, I'm super easygoing. Like, you want to go eat here instead of here, I don't care. You got to do this before we leave. Like, okay, yeah, I want to get there, but like traveling with friends, if somebody else has something that they want to do, okay, cool. I'm not planning it. I don't have to, like, all I have to do is show up. Perfect. That's all I need.
It's the ideal situation.
Yeah, I'm totally chill in my personal life, and being able to travel, get somewhere, get something done, but can go with the flow, basically, with a lot of things. So I don't know if I've ever really analyzed that until right now. So
often enough, people will sit across from me and they'll be like, I've never thought about it until I said it out loud. I'm like, well, you're welcome.
Yeah. And I think it probably does go back to school, because I knew if I missed school, then I wasn't going to have an opportunity at home to be tutored or help, because my dad was MIA, and then my mom had all of raising us three, and trying to get, she had her own hell to try to get through.
Sure.
So didn't want to add to it, but at the same time, I knew her limitations too. So I didn't have that availability at home for someone to help me with my homework. And I knew if I missed school, if I got behind, then I was going to be behind.
You're screwed. Yeah.
It was going to be a snowball. And that I did not like.
No, I don't blame you.
Yeah.
I don't blame you at all. So is Honeybee full-time?
Yes.
That's fun.
Mm-hmm.
At what point were you like, oh my God, this is full-time now? Like, this isn't just like a hobby. This is what I do. Yeah. I run this business, and it has gotten to the point where it provides me next to full-time income.
Mm-hmm. It was probably 2 years ago, I would say, where I knew it couldn't be just a side hustle anymore. Like one thing or another was going to get compromised. And I don't like anything half-ass being associated with my name. So I had to choose. And while it wasn't like, oh, you're making, bukus of money with this side hustle as an event planner, it was enough that I could get by, because that was the only way that I was going to be able to make more, is by committing more. Mm-hmm. And my husband now was also gracious enough to give me that window, because he saw how hard I was working and knew that I wasn't sitting at home on my ass just doing nothing, just waiting for it to fall in my lap. Like I was hustling and doing as much as I could, as many contacts, networking, all of those things. So he gave me that window of, he would be the main financial provider while I really got this thing up to where it needed to be. And the blessing in it is that I don't have to work because of his income. I choose to. But he still believed in me enough to let me really commit to it. So that was probably 2 years ago, and it's been growing ever since.
Amazing. Amazing. Well, I love that for you. Thank you for giving me all that. That's good stuff.
Yeah,
That's good
I'm
stuff.
glad that it is a happy ending, that I can say that, because it's not always, entrepreneurship isn't cut out for everybody. Not everybody can hack it, and not to toot my own horn, but if you're not a good multitasker, if you're not good with organized chaos, if you're not good with doing whatever it takes, and if that means staying up till 3:00 in the morning to get something done, only to turn around and get up at 6:00 in the morning to be on site somewhere, then
it's not for you.
It's not for you, because it's not for the faint
No.
of heart. And if you aren't diplomatic and you don't know how to handle people or socialize, and satisfy the most challenging client, then, and again, in any category, not just event planning, because you're going to have asshole clients no matter who you are and what category as an entrepreneur. And if you don't know how to navigate those waters, then no, it's not for you.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, it's definitely not for the faint of heart. I mean, if you can't handle the pressure and you can't pivot last minute and you can't go with the flow, it ain't going to be pretty.
Yeah.
That's how I struggled with that very early on, of like, if somebody would like cancel like 20 minutes before the recording, I'd be like, oh my God, this is ruining my day.
Yeah.
But now I'm just like, hey, somebody canceled. Can you be here?
Mm-hmm.
And like just easily pivot, or,
Right.
I mean, it is difficult. It definitely isn't easy all the time, but I mean, it's fun though.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
if you love chaos like I
Yes.
do, and it sounds like you do.
Yeah.
And I mean, being a stay-at-home mom every day is chaos.
Yes.
It's fun. It can be.
And it fits my personality of that, because that's why I knew I could never do a 9-to-5 job when I was younger, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I knew that I needed to do something in a creative outlet, because that's what I went to school for.
Sure.
Like back in the day, my degree was going to be digital art.
Okay.
And that was way before that it ever took off. So, or, like graphic designing, things like that. So I knew that I needed to do something that satisfied me creatively, because that's just in my DNA.
Oh yeah.
And never even thought of event planning, because, when I was 18, 19, 20 in Kennesaw, Georgia, it wasn't a thing. Maybe in New York or LA, but not Kennesaw. So to be full circle, and that's what I am now, I'm like, oh my God, that's so obvious of like how it fits, because it's the same foundation, but the details change. So you get good at the concept, you get good at the logistics, but you just have to change the details for each particular event. And that's what keeps me interested. And then also the challenge, because I'm also very competitive.
Oh yeah.
Very competitive. So I can be my own worst enemy.
Mm-hmm.
And also knowing like my ex-husband and conversations, and growing up, not growing up, but being married in the hospitality industry, and being asked, can you do this? The answer is always yes.
Oh, absolutely.
The answer is always
Figure
yes.
it out
you
later.
Figure it out later.
Yep.
Yeah. And so you have to have that diehard competitiveness with yourself and confidence. You have to know that you can do it or figure it out. And that also goes back to my childhood, because when my dad was around, he was kind of like a MacGyver of, you look around and what do you have to fix it? What do you have to make it work? Just putting stuff together.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to help him with a lot of those things. So you get really resourceful in figuring it out. The answer is always going to be yes. So I love that challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And then I love the reinforcement that it gives me of, yes, I am capable. This seemed hard, or I've never done it before, but I love those things. And it's like being constantly putting yourself in a pressure cooker, but that's what I thrive in. So chaos doesn't stress me out, doesn't give me anxiety. It makes me perform, and it makes me accomplish something that I didn't think I could do the other day. So
there you go.
Yeah.
What a win.
Always.
Holly, every conversation I have with someone, I ask them a handful of questions towards the end of the session.
Okay.
And they're all very first date like questions. They're not super duper deep. There's a couple deep ones, but for the
Okay.
most part, they're kind of fun. So no matter
Okay.
who I'm sitting across, whether it's you or the president of the United States, I'm going to
Yeah.
ask them the same question I'm about to ask you.
Okay.
Hey guys, I want to talk to you a little bit about the company that makes your morning drive happen every week. Are you looking to elevate your business and your brand? Hammerhead Creations is here to help. They offer top-tier marketing services, including social media management, website design, and Google page optimization, ensuring your business reaches the right audience. Whether it's a side hustle or your full-time grind, their expert team, me, is ready to help you grow. Plus, if you're into podcasting like me, Hammerhead Creations offers full support for both in-house shows and external podcast creation. From concept to production, we will help you bring your ideas to life. Visit www.hammerheadcreations.com and discover how we can take your business or your podcast or both to the next level. Hammerhead Creations, swim with the big sharks. So, what is your favorite movie
Oh man.
when you have time to watch them?
Oh my God. There's so many that just came to mind because there's so many genres that I like. Oh my God. I would say one of the first one that comes to mind is Taken.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I've not been given that answer before. What a damn good one. Why that movie?
I think I love movies like that because the thing that I like is justified revenge.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we talked about this a little bit before. You love cooking up shit.
Yeah. And sometimes it's warranted, and like that movie, you're going to come after my kid, or you're going to come after the kid that I know, then you need to be prepared for hell to come for you.
Let's go.
You know what I mean? 100%, not even a question.
Let's freaking go.
Yeah. So when it's like a justified revenge and it's calculated and it's something where people thought they were going to get away with, and you're always going to be found out.
Hey, at the end of the day, you're just holding people accountable.
That's right. It's accountability.
It's accountability.
I know.
You fuck with my family, I'm going to come get your ass.
I'm coming for you.
Yeah,
100%.
that's it.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Good answer. What was your first ever job? First time you worked for someone else?
Like consistently, or just like
a part-time job? Like first time you were in high school or college that you worked? Or...
Well, one of the first jobs I ever had, I was very young. My mother had us in acting and modeling.
Really?
Yeah. So I was in print work or commercials by the time I was like 6.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Dang.
But like a job for myself probably was waiting. I was in high school, and I took a telemarketing job when people used to actually call you on your landline.
Yeah.
So I needed money for spring break because my mom didn't have any. And if I wanted to go, I had to pay my own way.
Wow.
So I went and got a job for True Green Lawn Care System, and it was the worst. It was in Marietta, and it was the old school shopping center complexes, where it just looked like like a
graveyard.
Yeah, like some kind of weird suspect movie was being made, and you didn't know what you're walking into. And it was so depressing because you just got put in this like 8x10 room with about 12 or 15 other telemarketers, and literally they gave you your script and you went through. You picked up a Yellow Pages phone book and you flipped through it, and there were markers, like highlighters that you had, and it was like pink, yellow, and green. So you went through the phone book, and where somebody else might have had that one yesterday, and then people's names were highlighted according to if it was their first, second, or third call, or if you actually got them under contract for lawn care service.
Do you remember your spiel at all?
The concept was, hey, so-and-so, so we're going to be in your neighborhood tomorrow. Would you mind if we came by, give you a free inspection, no charge to you? And if you do, then we'll give you $30 off if you sign with us for a contract for 6 months. How does that sound to you, Bethany? And they'd be like, you called here yesterday. Quit calling me. Yeah. Click. You call here again. I'm calling the cops. I'm like, okay, cool.
Oh, that's funny how when you gave me your little your script there, your hospitality voice came out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, hey, how are you?
Yeah, how you doing? Good to
Thank
hear
you for
from
calling
you.
back.
Yeah, thanks. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got to turn it on.
Yes, you do. Rank these 3 things in order of your favorite to least favorite. Queso, guac, and salsa.
Oh, guac would probably be number 1, then queso, then salsa.
That's a good answer. That's a good answer.
You just can't always put all your eggs in one basket with a salsa.
True. Very true.
Yeah.
Sometimes salsa is great, but then sometimes, at least in my head, more often than not, it's very disappointing.
Yeah.
I'm not a chunky salsa kind of guy. I don't need chunky tomatoes in it.
See, I like more
it to
like
be
a
very
pico de gallo kind of situation.
Okay.
But I've also had salsa where it's just too runny. I'm like, what is this? Like tomato soup?
Yeah.
And
right.
you can tell, because restaurants also, they also cut things with other things to
Utensils.
make it last further.
Yeah.
Like, they might cut ranch dressing with mayonnaise to make it, if they're running out, or they might cut certain things with ketchup. And I was like, this tastes like ketchup.
Yeah.
This is disgusting.
Yeah. If you were getting your lethal injection tomorrow, very morbid, but tonight, what would your last meal on earth be?
It would probably be my pot roast with garlic mashed potatoes, navy beans, and cornbread.
Damn.
Yeah.
Made by you.
Yeah, I cook a lot.
Do you?
Yeah.
Are you a wicked cook?
Yep.
Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and I don't need like a menu, or like, I'm not a repetitive cook. Like every Tuesday we're having meatloaf.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not that.
You're just whipping it up.
Yeah, I can look in the refrigerator and see what we've got.
Yeah.
And make something from it, unless I've got some kind of hankering specifically that I've gone to the store for.
Yeah.
But normally it's like, oh, I've got A, B, C, and D.
Let's make it.
Yeah, here you go.
There you go. There you go. You get to organize a music festival for yourself. Who are your 3 headliners?
Oh man, I also
Alive
like
or dead?
So many genres. Oh my God, alive or dead? Oh my God. There's so many genres
You
that
give
I like.
me the vibe that you love both. You could really enjoy some like Sheryl Crow, but also you could listen to like Tupac.
Yes, all of those things. I go all the way from legit 90s rap all the way to Christian music.
Yeah.
Like there's no variance in between.
Yeah.
Like I dig a lot of Southern rock, bluegrass, and I don't even really know what genre it is, like Ray LaMontagne or Dave Matthews. I don't even know what genre that you really call that.
Alternative-ish, rock-ish.
I don't know, because I always kind of consider it a form of Southern rock, because anytime I put it in a search of their name, that it always kind of falls under Southern rock, like Steve Miller Band, Allman Brothers.
Yep.
But one of my favorite all-time artists, as you said, alive or dead, is Elvis.
Okay.
So I should have been a groupie.
There you go.
For him back in the day.
Should have done that.
There's no one that sings like him, that looks like him. I mean, yeah.
Hey.
You know what I mean? It's a shame that he did not have better children. But anyway, so probably Elvis would be one. And then, I don't know, probably Tina Turner.
Okay.
I think she just puts on a,
she's got
just
pipes.
That, and she's that old school performer. You know what I mean? Like it's her. It's who she is.
Yeah.
Oh, the last one. That would be so difficult. So Elvis, Tina Turner, and probably somebody like Dave Matthews.
It's a good answer.
Yeah.
I like that. It's a good festival. I'm coming.
Yeah.
I'm coming too.
Right. It's a variety.
Yeah, oh yeah. You're getting a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
That's fire. Fire.
Yeah.
On a day that you're not planning something for somebody else, how do you care for yourself when you're not taking care of your kids and it's a you day? What's Holly's self-care look like?
So I don't like to sit still for the most part unless I'm exhausted. There are applicable days where I'm just going to sit and watch a movie, but normally it's going to be some type of a project at my house. Like I've got a project in my bathroom that I'm trying to finish, and I I go get the wood, I cut the wood, I hang the wood, like whatever it might be, I'm doing all of it. And it's not like, oh, I want to hang a shelf in the kitchen. Like it's construction.
Yeah.
Like I'm building something
Yeah.
one way or another. Or I am a really big festival and goodwill searcher, flea market picker, that kind of thing. So if there's something going on like that and it's a day that I have off and it's something that I just really want to go that I thoroughly enjoy, it's going to be like going to an antique festival, a flea market, getting a coffee, spending the day being able to do that. And if it's not that, it'd probably be gardening.
Okay. Never like to sit still.
Mm-mm.
I like it. I respect it.
I like productivity one way or another. And
I resonate with that. I like
Yeah.
that. What does success look like to you? Here comes the deep ones.
For me, success would probably be freedom to do what I want when I want. Obviously, money is always going to be a caveat to that, but that's part of being an entrepreneur. Like, am I making $100,000 a year? No. But being my own boss allows me to set my own schedule. I can accept your event or I can not accept your event. It depends on how well I'm doing that year. And being my own boss allows me to spend my income on what I actually want. And I love to travel and being able to see new places and be exposed to new things. And so to me, it would be the freedom to do what I want when I want.
Hell yeah. I agree. Do you know what the expression means when I say a hill that I'm willing to die on?
Yes.
What is a hill that you're willing to die on? And the only reason I ask if you know what that means, because I did an episode a few months ago, and he literally told me a hill that he likes.
Kennesaw Mountain
like
or something?
he was like Stone Mountain. And I was like, buddy. And in the moment, I wasn't going to correct him, but then he texted me like 2 weeks later, and he's like, dude, my wife just made me feel like an idiot because I didn't know what that expression meant. I was like, it's okay, man. It's okay. So what is a hill you're willing to die on, Holly?
Probably anything that I've given my word to. I will, and I don't know if really that translates or if it makes sense, because it's also something that I've tried to teach my kids, that your word is the only thing that you've got at the end of the day. Obviously, you can throw money at stuff, or you can do this, or you can do that. But if you don't follow through on what you said you're going to do, then it's a ripple effect for the other categories in your life that will not be pretty.
I like that a lot, and I agree.
Yeah. So that, again, kind of full circle of I'm not perfect, but the mistakes that I've learned in that category make me even more adamant to never do it again. And if I say that I'm going to be there for somebody, or if I'm going to help you, even if it's moving or a shoulder to cry on or an event, or if I said that I'm going to do it, then I'll die trying.
I like it. I like it a lot. What is your biggest fear?
Probably my kids not ending up happy. That's probably my biggest fear. Of maybe a subcategory of that is that I didn't give them the best instruction, or even though, again, you try your damnedest as a parent. I mean, there's always going to be something when your kids get older to say, well, you did this, or I didn't like that, or blah, blah. I mean, but if, the good outweighs the bad, then you've done your job. But there's always that fear in the back of my mind that I didn't serve them well enough.
And that makes total sense. I feel like every parent has that fear.
Yeah.
For sure.
Because it would obviously then affect their self-worth, their happiness, like all of that. So as long as my kids are healthy and happy, then I'm good.
Good. And then, Holly, lastly, where do you see yourself, your business, everything you're a part of in 10 years?
I would obviously like to have grown enough that I have trusted staff that could be able to run the show, and someone that would love it enough, love it as much as I do. Even though when you're an entrepreneur, you never think that there's anyone that would, especially in the beginning. That's part of the dichotomy of never taking your hands off of things.
Yeah, understood there.
Yeah, which also leads to burnout and like everything bad.
Yep.
But in 10 years, I would like for what I've created to still be around and be a name amongst itself that's not just an event or decor company, but the person that runs it is someone that does it with integrity and that they can trust, because that's a big thing in this industry. People don't feel like they can trust you in the beginning because no one likes to give up their money if they don't.
Yep.
So I would like for it to be built on something solid enough that someone along the way within that 10 years would love it as much as I do to continue it when I can't.
That's a good answer. Holly, now I allow you to plug the business, plug away, tell people where to find you, how to find you, the stuff that you offer, everything in between.
Okay. So we are a full service event planning company and decor rental company. So we can do anything from a corporate event to a personal event to a holiday event, whatever it might be. Again, if you can celebrate it, we can coordinate it. And that includes everything from point A to point Z with everything in between. And we offer things like full planning, partial planning, on-site management or coordination. We can handle, if you don't want to get any of those packages, then we can handle just the specific details. Like if you want custom decor or linens or a backdrop or a balloon garland, floral arrangements, we can handle just individual details for you. And we are all over social media. As lax as I might feel about being present, we are there. So Honeybee Events is on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, all of the things. And there is always a direct link where you can message me on there. My cell phone is on my Facebook page. Text, call, email, DM. Slide into my DMs.
Hear that, guys? She wants you to slide in.
Yeah, so there's multiple outlets to be able to reach out to us if there's anything that we can help anybody with.
Amazing. Amazing. Guys, I'll make sure to throw that information in the description of the episode so that if you are interested or know somebody that's interested, you can fire away at her website or her socials or her contact info. So I'll put it below so that it's easily accessible. Holly, thank you so much for doing this with me.
Absolutely. I enjoyed it.
Good. I'm glad. I learned a lot about you and a lot about the event planning business. And I feel like we see eye to eye on a lot of stuff, which really helps for conversation's sake.
Sure.
We see a lot of the same things and agree on a lot of the same points. Especially, I love that we connected so much on the hospitality side of things and how to treat other people, how to not treat other people.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I feel like should be really helpful for a lot of people to hear. So I hope
so.
Some people get some good enjoyment and some knowledge and information out of it. So I can't wait to see where Honeybee goes from here. Keep an eye out on the socials, everybody.
Yeah.
They're going to get a lot less lax.
Yeah.
Right, Holly?
Yeah. Like, follow, and share.
There you go. Boom. I can't wait to see where Honeybee goes from here, where you go from here. This is really fun. I enjoy talking to you. You're a lot of fun.
Thank you.
And
absolutely.
So guys, like I said, her information is going to be in the description of the episode, as well as information about me and where to follow and where to subscribe and all of those things. For my end as well, like I said at the beginning, follow on the social platforms, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, everywhere.
All the things.
All of the things. I hate but love that expression so much.
I know.
It's so lazy, but it also covers everything. It covers everything, all of the things. So yeah, we appreciate you being here. We appreciate you joining us, and we hope you have a good rest of your day. Take care. See ya.